Did you know that ADHD students are less likely to graduate than their neurotypical counterparts? And even if they do graduate, the average ADHD student is likely to have a lower GPA than the average neurotypical student. And it's statistics like this that really encouraged me to make this channel. I wanted to make a channel that would raise awareness about neurodiversity in higher education and in life to help us address those discrepancies and make it so neurodivergent people could succeed. And I really do believe that one of the reasons for this disparity in higher education is lack of awareness around neurodiversity and even silence around things like ADHD, autism, and other forms of neurodivergence. To correct that, in this video, we're going to talk about 5 free and easy ways that professors and instructors can increase awareness about neurodivergence in their classrooms and at their school. Now, my first tip is that instructors really need to think about their course syllabi and how they discuss disability, accommodations, and neurodivergence in those syllabi. Oftentimes, professors just kind of write a rote message about diversity that says something to the effect of students that need accommodations should go through their Office of Disability Services. And of course, that's correct. Students should go through the Office of Disability Service, but the kind of bland language doesn't show your motivation or the instructor's motivation to really help students. And so I encourage professors to be more enthusiastic in how they write those statements. Say that you really want to affirm neurodivergence, that you want all students to succeed, that you're willing to work with students for their accommodations, and that you want your class to be neuro-inclusive where those students can succeed. So imagine you're directly communicating to a student with autism or an ADHD student or a dyslexic student and really convey that you care about their success in your classroom, in your syllabus. Now, the second thing that I think instructors should do is to really promote their Office of Disability Services or the Office of Accessibility much more on the first day of class. Now, I've read a lot of reports that say things like ADHD students may not go seek out the services. They either aren't motivated to do so, they don't know what the benefit will be, or they just don't know how to go about doing that, or they're uncomfortable doing that. And so by having the instructor or the professor really promote using those services as a good thing, as a thing that you admire or that you cherish, as opposed to something that's going to make the student look bad, that can really help the student get in the frame of mind that they do want to use those services that they are entitled to use. I also think that going to see an office like that by yourself can be kind of intimidating for neurodivergent students, and so you could even offer as an instructor to go walk to the center, to that Office of Disability with the student and to introduce them to the space. My third piece of advice is to share the resources that students can use. Oftentimes, instructors have access to a learning platform of some sort where you can post links to resources either on campus or right off campus that students can use to find support for their neurodivergence. For example, a former school that I worked at had a ADHD testing center on campus, and so simple things like including the link to that on your course page can help students access the information that they need in order to succeed in your class. My fourth tip is to create neurodivergent clubs or neurodivergent social gatherings. There's a lot of universities and colleges that have really important programs supporting LGBTQ students, students of color, so they might have a Black Student Union, they might have a Queer Straight Alliance on campus, or the school might have something like Women in Engineering or Women in STEM. Those are places that students can go to get support and get affirmation for who they are. In contrast, I've often found that universities do not have that for neurodivergent students, and so simply trying to create a neurodivergent club, a neurodivergent activity club, something to that effect can really help those students. And the research that I've read really shows that extracurricular activities can help with student retention and helping students feel like they belong, and so trying to create some kind of club can be beneficial for neurodivergent students. And the fifth and final tip that I have is to make sure that you as an instructor are soliciting feedback from neurodivergent students and asking questions about neurodiversity explicitly when you try to get feedback. And so you can ask students, how accessible did they find the classroom environment? Were there any visuals that were distracting to them? Were there any other sensory input that made it more difficult for them to learn? You can do this as a part of a midterm check-in where you're asking students what's going well and what's going not so well in the classroom, but being specific by asking about neurodiversity and neurodivergence, so the things like sensory input and so on. And so there you have it, 5 ways for you to raise awareness about neurodiversity in your classrooms and in your schools. Of course, addressing the disparities that neurodivergent students face requires more than just an instructor trying to do something to help improve the situation. It requires all of us to act. And so check out our next video on how departments as a collective can help promote neurodiversity and help their neurodivergent students succeed.